Welcome to the Bend Don't Break podcast. We are powered by The Source, Bend's locally owned media company and weekly newspaper. This podcast is our eddy in the rushing waters of local journalism. We are glad that you're taking some of your time to listen to us chat with the people who shape our local community. Support us through our member program at bensource.com.
Thank you to our presenting sponsor, RE/MAX Key Properties, a family-owned full-service real estate brokerage specializing in residential, luxury, commercial, new construction, and ranch and land properties. Their new state-of-the-art facility at 42 Greenwood Avenue is a modern, collaborative space and the new home of the Bend Don't Break podcast recording studio.
I'm Aaron Switzer, publisher of The Source and co-producer of this podcast with Megan Burton. Thank you for joining us. Today we have Kirk Schueler. He is president and CEO of Brooks Resources Corporation, a Central Oregon real estate development and management company, a role he has held since 2000. A graduate of the University of Nevada, Reno in forestry and the University of Oregon accounting, Schueler began his career with KPMG, where he specialized in auditing high-tech and wood products companies before joining Brooks Resources in 1993. He later served as Chief Administration Officer and Executive Vice President of St. Charles Health System and Chief Financial Officer of Mosaic Medical before returning to Brooks Resources in 2016. Throughout his career, he has been deeply involved in community leadership, serving on numerous boards and committees, including Oregon State University, Mount Bachelor Sports Education Foundation, the Bend Foundation, and the Roundhouse Foundation Investment Committee. Kurt?
I had forgot about the Mosaic CFO, but it was a short one. I was filling in.
This was a long biography. So we trimmed it
I'm
down.
good.
Yeah.
If you would have come up with anything else, that would have been news, actually.
So you're born in Nevada.
Nevada.
Yeah. Sorry, my East Coast is showing. Right.
Las Vegas.
Yeah, Las Vegas in the 60s.
Born 1960 in Las Vegas. Born and raised. Graduated from high school.
Yeah. What was that like?
My dad worked for the test site, the Department of Energy. So the casino world really wasn't much of our world. None of my neighbors were associated with casino in one way or another.
Sure.
Not all of them on the casino floor, So it was different, It was back then. It was cheap food, My dad would take us down there and get buffets and things. So it's changed a lot. I don't have any relatives there anymore, and
it's got to be crazy to go back there now.
Yeah, it's a lot different.
It was the fastest growing city for
when I was a kid, fastest growing city for a long time. Also, highest rate of crime per capita. But most of it was like property crime and stealing and stuff. People lose money at the casinos and feel like they can make it
look
by
around
stealing cars or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, it was good though. Vegas was grown immensely. When I was in high school, I had a job with Ready Ice, which was a Southland corporation who owned all the 7-Elevens.
Oh.
And we delivered ice to all the 7-Elevens and when I wasn't working in the back bagging it.
Yeah.
And so I got to know the city and knew all of Las Vegas.
Right.
As a high schooler, you'd never really venture too far. But because of my summer job,
that seems like a good job for Vegas.
It was.
You just sit in on the
back of the ice. You were back there and it was like, 48 degrees. And in fact, they told you like when your shift was over, because they just ran day, you walked out at 4 or 5 o'clock. I said, be careful because you can walk out into the 105, 110. And it had people,
pass
out. And we were 18, 17. We weren't going to pass out. But
right.
We were worried about us. So.
But you started with a vision from being in the desert of Nevada to go into forestry?
Yeah, well, I went to Nevada, Reno.
Yeah, okay.
And, when you're that age, you don't always make great decisions. Not that forestry was a bad decision, but my career choice was guided by the avoidance of having to take foreign language and calculus. Which was like the stupidest way you could ever.
That was my path too, but I just kind of stayed on it. I didn't go into accounting.
I started in geology and then I went into business and they told me I had to take calculus and then I had to know Spanish and literally going through the course catalog. I'm looking for the degree that doesn't require those.
Right.
And it was in the the College of Agriculture in the Department of Renewable Natural Resources. Forestry was, and so I was in ag. I went to my first semester of my sophomore year. I'm sitting in a class called Plant, Soil, and Water, and I have this moment I was 19. I had this moment of this boy from Las Vegas has fallen a long way.
Right.
I was like, what am I doing? I'm in farmer class.
Right, right, right.
And but one of the classes you had to take was the intro to renewable natural resources. And so
Okay.
they showed you forestry and range management and wildlife and
Yeah.
watershed management. And I'm like, I'm going to be a forester.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but it was good. I mean, I love my forestry background. I
Yeah.
never really practiced silviculture, which is the science of forestry.
Right.
I met my wife there who did. She worked for
Okay.
she has a forestry degree and a hydrology. But yeah, she was with the Forest Service doing real forestry.
Yeah.
And I worked for the Forest Service temporarily, um, mostly surveying roads and trails in Idaho.
Yeah, that was also in your bio, like,
Yeah.
and then you get your degree and you're off to Idaho.
Yeah.
Was your wife part of that
Yeah, she was
travel as
working in
well?
salmon,
Okay.
and so she got me a job, and I was on a crew that did preliminary survey lines, and that
Okay.
was one of the best jobs I ever had,
Yeah.
walking through the mountains of
Awesome.
Idaho and
Yeah.
setting trails and full
Yeah.
logging roads. Then she got transferred to Price, Utah. I went to work for a survey firm down there, engineering
Okay.
firm, which is a funny story because where I ended up, of course, was here at Brooks Resources as an accountant.
Right.
I'll get back to that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I'm out in the field. My boss, Mike Holler, would take me out, and our engineers would be out there. We'd be walking through street construction,
Yeah.
and the engineer would say, "Well, I think this is going to be a cut of 1.5 feet." I'd go over to the stake and read it because I was a surveyor for 2 years.
Right. Right.
And the engineer's like, "Wait, the accountant,
Right.
how can you read a state?" Well, we all
Yeah.
do things.
Yeah.
We all learn and accumulate.
Yeah. So you weren't married to your wife at the time you went salmon. You did followed her, or you were married?
We were married that September.
Okay.
We graduated in 82 from Nevada, Reno, got married in September of 82.
Okay. And then she goes to Price. You stay in salmon. So you were
Nope.
you followed?
She went to Price
Okay.
in the middle of that summer.
Okay.
So I was left in Idaho, um, hoping that, she would tell me where she moved to.
Right.
And then I moved down there because her job was permanent. She had a permanent
Okay.
position with the Forest Service.
Okay.
I was still in the seasonal
Yeah.
until I got the engineering gig for 2 years, which was a great experience too.
Yeah. And how do you? So then, at what point are you like, yeah, maybe I should. Maybe I'm a math brain. Maybe I should.
Yeah, so that's a great story. So we moved. So then she got transferred to Eugene,
Okay.
with the Forest Service.
Convenient.
We thought Utah's one of the most beautiful states you
Yeah.
can be in and travel in. It's an amazing place. But for two people from Nevada, after a little while, you kind of want to go back to the country you're from. And so we said, well, Oregon will be close to that.
Yeah.
And we moved to Eugene. She got a job. We moved to
Okay.
Eugene. Again, nothing against Utah and the people there, but it's
Yeah.
just different,
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, then I was doing a little soul searching, like, what am I really interested in?
Yeah.
Well, I found myself reading like Money Magazine, no, not logging magazine or anything like that.
Right.
I was reading Money Magazine and
Yeah.
Forbes or something, and I go, I kind of like business. But I went up to OSU and met with people from the forestry school there. I thought about forest engineering because I'd been doing all that surveying,
Sure.
and it was right in the middle of Spotted Owl.
Oh, okay.
And so they literally were like, well, you'll get a degree. I don't know what you'll do
Right.
because there's no.
They're
law."
closing the
Yeah,
entire
they're
forest.
closing
No
the
one.
forest.
No one will go in
I
again.
always appreciated the
Right.
guy was pretty straight
Yeah.
with me.
Right.
I thought about computer science back at U of O.
Yeah.
And of course, that would have been in 1984 is when we moved there. And I thought, now I look back and go, God, I could have owned my own island probably. I would have gone into computer science in
Sure.
84.
Right.
That's okay though. And so then I went to the College of Business and I interviewed with a few folks. And so we'd been married now about 2 years, a little over. And I was looking for a career.
Yeah.
So I met with a couple different departments and I met with the accounting department and I said, well, what are the prospects of job? And they go, what are you talking about? They're going to come on campus and recruit you. And I was like, sign me up.
This is the right field.
Sign
Right.
me up. So I became, and I kind of did
Yeah.
4 terms, and I got my second baccalaureate in
Okay.
accounting,
Yeah.
recruited into KPMG.
Yeah.
started
And what
some
is
of the-
what is KPMG? I mean,
KPMG used to be called Pete Marwick. It was a large, one of the big 8 accounting firms in the world.
okay.
Like when I worked there, we started in San Jose, moved to Portland after a year and a half because we were going broke in San Jose because
Yeah.
we had our first daughter.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
my wife wasn't working, and we were paying half of our salary in rent, and so I transferred to Portland, and I forgot your question.
Well, KPMG, I just
Oh,
don't know the
so
firm.
large.
Yeah.
So when I went to KPMG, there were probably 50,000 employees worldwide.
Okay.
So it's a huge accounting, audit, and
Yeah.
tax consulting,
Yeah.
and offices in all the major cities.
How'd you like it? Did you feel like you were home when you got
You
in
know,
that environment?
it's funny. That's a great question because I'm pretty open minded. I liked everything I was doing,
Yeah.
but I was good at auditing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how good a
I don't
surveyor I
sit with a
was.
lot of people who tell me they're really good with auditing.
I was a
But
good auditor, right?
yeah.
But you know what? I give a lot of credit to my education at U of O. They taught us right about the principles of
Yeah.
accounting, and
Yeah.
not just, which column does this number
Yeah.
go in? And so it really helped because auditing is a very unique profession in that you go from client to client, which
Yeah.
that's the part I loved.
Yeah.
Go to client, I'd spend 2, 3, 4 weeks at a client doing their audit, finishing their financial statements, and then go on to the next one. So experience from a business standpoint was
Yeah.
invaluable because I got to see all kinds of businesses, good ones, bad ones, in between.
How do you go? What was the thinking behind? You're at KPMG, you're at a big company. I imagine the opportunities for advancement pretty huge.
You
Yeah.
strive to
And
become a partner.
you decide you're going to go to Bend, go work for Brooks.
No, not necessarily to bend. I got to a point as you go up the it's a very much a pyramid.
Yeah.
For it used to be. I think they tried to change that because they lose a lot of talent.
Hmm.
The pyramid is they Portland, for example. When I was there, we hire 18 new first year people into the audit department, train them, and then after the first year, some got to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you got to move up to the next level, and it's a
Yeah.
pyramid. So
I didn't understand the pyramid was getting shaved.
yeah,
The bottom
but
was.
each rung moves up, it gets
Yeah.
skinnier,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And so that's what they do until you get to a certain point that you're standing around. They go, "Well, you're a partner now because
Yeah.
you've been here long enough." But as I became a manager at 5 years, and you start selling audit services
Okay.
and consulting services, and so I was like, "Oh, I'm not here for that." I liked auditing, I liked my
Yeah.
clients, and so I started looking around.
Yeah.
There was a Brooks Resources was a client of the KPMG's
Okay.
office, not my client, it was a different person, but I knew her, the manager there, and she knew I was looking around, and she goes, "Hey, this client of mine is looking for a controller." "Oh, are they a good client?" "Yeah, they're great people, great
Yeah.
people." Where is it?" "In Bend." I go, "Well, I've been there once, when I was in school at Eugene and came over."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I'll go look." And so I interviewed, and
Yeah.
oddly enough, I didn't get the job the first time. They hired a guy who had real estate experience, and
Yeah.
I told Mr. Holleran at the time, I said, but I go to client after client. I walk out of those buildings knowing as much about their business as they do, as far as at least the accounting.
Yeah.
I'll be able to do the accounting, no brainer. It's not like you have to know." And he said, "Well, yeah, didn't quite get over that."
Yeah.
I don't know, 10, 11 months later, and they call Connie Worrell. I don't know if you know.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember kind of.
Connie was
Yeah.
doing the recruiting, and she called me, goes, "Hey, that guy they hired's leaving. When they were wondering if you might want to come, interview." And I go, "I don't want to interview, but if you want to hire me, I'll do it." And they're like, "Yeah, well, that's what they mean." Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
that's how I got. And so I
yeah.
was hold that over Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Didn't hire
Yeah.
me.
You didn't like me.
Didn't like
You
me
liked
at
me at
first.
first.
So
But that's 1993. I mean, just to set
yeah.
the stage for like what you were stepping into. I got here in 90, and I mean, it wasn't a boom town at the
No,
time. It had
no.
just come out of a pretty bad
80s were
financial
rough. Yeah,
area.
80s were rough.
And
Yeah.
I mean, things were perking up a bit. And I know, I mean, we can look at the history and understand that Brooks played such an enormous role. But
Right.
for you coming in 93, what does that look like as you're the controller?
We had just I got here in like the 1st of December of '93. Aubrey Glen Golf Community the golf course had just opened that summer. Aubrey Butte was in like phase 8 or 9. There's like 38 phases or something up
Yeah.
there. And so we kind of were just sticking to our knitting, just developing
Yeah.
and selling lots and managing the community. And so for me, that I didn't know any better really because I got here in 93. All
Right.
I know is I missed the winter of 92, 93, which apparently was the worst snow since I've lived here.
Right.
Or-
Right.
Yeah, everybody in the outside. Oh, last year was like we had a pile of the snow down Wall Street.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
I remember that.
So,
Yeah.
tell me about it.
Yeah, we can go to snow removal and things
Yeah,
like
that was like the big thing. I couldn't find enough places to put it.
Yeah.
So that's all I know I missed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just I was the accountant, right?
Right.
I'm at the desk.
Yeah.
I'm cranking out the financial statements, and we had a great staff that was there, and they told me basically don't touch anything.
Don't break it. We're doing okay.
We've been going fine, just
Right.
fine without you.
Right.
And so yeah, it was all pretty steady. And for me, it was just a learning curve, right? I was just starting to learn that business, and thank goodness. I mean, I work for someone who is just I don't need. He's not really a boss. He's just a great mentor,
Yeah.
in my collar, and
Yeah.
in that he could be like, "Oh, you're the accountant. Come with me. Let's go out and look at this." Like I said, the story of this. Come out. I'm like, I'm the accountant. Why would I go? Well, let's go. Well, he's smart. He wanted me to know what I was accounting for.
Right. Sure.
And understand the business and the things that were going on. So
And
that,
probably had an eye for talent. I mean, could
yeah,
see like maybe this does, grow into more than
right. Yeah,
bean
so I
counting.
came there as the controller in December of '93. I mean, I became the CFO a couple of, like 2 or 3 years later, and then the chief operating officer, where I oversaw Mount Bachelor Village Resort and Aubrey Glen Golf Club,
Okay.
and we had started Botanical Developments, the
Okay.
landscape company,
Okay.
and so those three operational things, which was fine. I was just managing those general managers and doing the accounting, um, and then I became president in uh, 2000.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, I just progressed along, and I don't know, it's how things are. Your head's down and you're working, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, you're 7, 8 years into
Yeah.
it.
I mean, you guys are famous now for Northwest Crossing and the work
Right.
that went into the West Side Consortium at the
Yeah,
time, which
right.
was
You remember?
an amazing, come together of. I was just talking the other night with somebody about how things have changed in the fact that you could do a West Side Consortium, then you could get a
Right.
group of folks, you could go to the city, you could go propose these kind of things, and there was
Well, we were called to the city.
yeah. However
We
that
were all asked to come to the
yeah.
site.
So
Ron Darzini, you remember?
Yeah,
Ron,
I
you just said,
do.
"Oh,
yeah.
I remember his words. We were all sitting in a table in that back room at city
Mhm.
council there. Oh, the gig is up, guys." And we're like, "What's he talking about? Transportation is going to
Yeah.
slow us all down if
Yeah.
you guys can't get together and do something."
Yeah.
And so
Right.
we did.
Yeah. Yeah, what is that? I am curious, like how he calls you in, but it was such an enormous
Yeah.
piece of property. I don't even now when I try to explain it to people, they don't understand what that whole crescent was. But
Right.
maybe give the 101 version of that.
Well, at that time, I couldn't tell you the year. It must have been late '90s,
Yeah.
I think, because we started Northwest Crossing in 2000. So
Yeah.
we had our approvals basically through
Right.
this West Side Traffic Consortium. But they called in everybody. They called in us because of Mount Bachelor Village Resort. They called in the Bulletin because they had just moved
Oh
up
yeah, they
there.
had the
So I didn't have much to do with it, but all the Broken Top was there. Dyke Dame and those guys were at the table. They got us in because of West Bend Property Company, which did Northwest Crossing.
right. I think
Pulled
tenant.
COCC. Well, that's West Bend Property
Okay, yeah.
Company.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they pulled in COCC. Cascade Highlands
Yeah.
were
Okay.
represented by, the Broken Top folks anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're all and Dave Swisher, who had that little
Okay.
Anderson Ranch piece. He's like
Yeah.
looking around the room going, "Why am I here? I own this little piece of land." But yeah, we sat there and we civil engineers, an attorney or two, and at first had a big traffic study done, identifying all the intersections that were going to fail based on all of our assumptions of development.
Right.
And then we basically started divvying up intersections
Yeah.
to each other. Well, you take this one, it seems like this,
Right.
So Northwest Crossing had the Chevron Park Road roundabout on Mount
Mhm.
Washington Drive and the Skyliner roundabout. We all contributed money for the Southern Crossing.
Right. Okay.
We pitched in a
Yeah.
bunch of money,
Yeah.
I don't know, $1 million between all of us.
Yeah.
Um, people did the 14th and Galveston, Newport and 14th, 9th and Newport. Those were all part of the West Side
Yeah.
Traffic Consortium.
Right.
The roundabout at we'd already built, see the roundabout at Century and Colorado.
Okay.
That was the first
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
We built that one, and so there's a whole nother story. Like the father of the roundabout was Mike Holleran because
Sure.
he proclaimed
Yeah.
that there would never be a signal light on the west side of the river.
Right.
Then we were all like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember when they went all in and everybody was so crazy
Oh.
about, oh, this is going to be a disaster. The snow,
Yeah,
yeah.
Dave Marsh was the president of Mount Bachelor, and he had just retired. And we built that roundabout, and I got this call. I think he wanted Mike, but he got me, and he sort of read me the riot act that all the people coming to Mount Bachelor are going to get confused and lost. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Seems like they should be able to figure this out.
Well, remember all of the they were like, we're going to become France. We don't want to be France. This is where the roundabouts come
So this
from.
is again for the Century Colorado roundabout,
Right.
And we had to do it because we were building that Century Washington Center
Right.
where OSU is now, and
Yeah.
Cascade Lakes used to be, and all that. And the city wanted a signal light, and Mike's like, "Well, why don't we build a roundabout instead?" It was cheaper back then to build a
Yeah.
roundabout.
Right.
Now it's actually more expensive.
Oh, I didn't know.
Or I don't know. I haven't built
Yeah.
a signal in a long
Right.
time, but yeah, we built the first roundabout on a state highway too. So
Yeah.
there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was a pretty crazy time. We opened that one. We all went out there. Our engineers, ODOT people were there. There's probably 12 of us standing in front of the hotel right there.
Yeah.
And cars are entering and moving nicely. And then this little, a mini pickup, the two high school boys enter it, and it's just squeal the whole way. Not once. They did 2 laps, and the guy in the passenger seat's waving at all of us. And our jaws are just like, oh my God, what have we created?
Right.
Is this what is,
Right.
and then there were stories of like people trying to turn left into the roundabout.
Yeah. There was.
But in the end, I think now you couldn't take them away.
Yeah, and I mean, being able to get the I'm drawing a blank on the name of the arts group that was putting it on
Art in
the
Public
Bar in Public
Places,
Places, having that additional incentive where they started putting the art in there, and then it made it like, well, our roundabout needs art. How come they have art? We
Right.
don't have it. And
Exactly.
balancing the east side, west side. Oh, this is a west
Well,
side
the
thing.
great thing is that the roundabouts did come to the east side.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and art ended up in those too.
Yeah.
And so it was
No, it became very egalitarian. It was like, what kind of art are you going to get in your
Yeah.
roundabout? It was
I don't
awesome.
I love the I don't know if it's the most recent, but the one down by Caldera High School with the wolves.
With the wolves, yeah,
It's like, and there are
Yep.
the wolves, and then the bear at 9th and Franklin.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Because we're doing Alpenglow Nights over there with a little
Oh, right. I saw
concert
that.
in that park,
Yeah.
and I had not gone right out of the park yet in a while, and so I go down and I was like, oh, not only do they have roundabouts here, they have art. They're
Yeah.
they're legit.
got the
They're
art.
stamped.
Yeah. So someone's waiting for waiting for Art and Public Places to put in a storm.
That's right. Big light.
I don't know how
bolts
they're
that-
going to do
yeah.
that. Yeah, but
Well, Kurt, as this is all happening, how are you? I mean, you're ramping up, and I know so at a certain point though, you went and tried your hand in medical.
well,
So,
let's be clear.
and things were, yeah,
I never touched a scalpel or anything. It was a recession,
yeah,
and as well as we could have been positioned because we had Northwest Crossing going, and Northwest Crossing was the only real estate in town during the recession. You're still doing 30, 40 homes a year there. And but there was a moment I was on vacation somewhere, and I called in to be part of this discussion that somebody didn't like a decision by the Architecture Review Committee and wanted to appeal it. So that brings Mike and me into this,
yeah,
and we're debating a color of a house. And I came back and I go, Mike, there's no work. I mean, what am I doing? You're paying you and you're paying me, and we're talking
Right.
about. But the opportunity was presented to me to go to the
Yeah.
hospital and become the chief administrative
Yeah.
officer. And so I had, I had HR and the foundation and construction and real estate, education. Um, there was probably something I'm forgetting, but about 5 or 6 different areas of the hospital, all
Yeah.
of it administrative.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but it was good because the beauty of
But that's a big leap.
it is a big leap.
I mean, I know
and
you
I was
believe
asked
that you
by-
can always learn, but
and I was asked by many of my friends, like, "Are you okay?
yeah, right.
You're at the hospital for a reason."
Right.
No,
Yeah.
I did this willingly. Um, and I always, but the beauty of it was the lesson I learned amongst one of the biggest lessons was there's a beauty in going somewhere you're not an expert. You don't
Yeah.
know. And you get to be in a position, even if you're not an authority, but you get to say, why do we do it that way?
Yeah.
Or I don't understand this. Could you explain it more?
Yeah.
And, those simple questions sometimes, even in known company, um, just elicits really good information. So
Yeah.
people go like, well, this is because this is, yeah, but I talked to them over there and they said this is really hurts them.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
Or
Sure.
or I had this idea, what if we just skipped all that and just
Yeah.
did this? What is there a problem? And
Well,
then they have to think, well, what is the problem?
and isn't I mean, St. Charles is also like even as medical, even as hospitals go, it's a nonprofit. It's complicated. It's got. I
I
mean,
have a ton of respect.
yeah.
Let me put it this way. I have a ton of respect for the people when I was there, and I think this is probably true for those frontline caregivers. It's a hard job, and you work hard. You have a lot of responsibility. You're looked at by the people coming to you as they need you. They need your
Yeah.
help. When I was there, the administration, and I've heard this, was cumbersome, and,
Yeah.
and not great at
Right.
that
Right.
times.
Right.
And so I left after 3 years because I was sort of like, I've done my time here, and real estate was picking back up.
Sure. Sure.
So
Yeah.
it's time for me to go. And I ended up at Mosaic.
Right. So then you did another.
See, I was the CFO. So
Yeah.
I was on the board of Mosaic.
Okay.
And they were letting their CFO go. And so I don't know if you've ever met Megan Hayes, but Megan's one of my favorite leaders in Central Oregon. If you ever get a chance to talk
Yeah.
to her,
Megan Hayes. Megan, we're gonna right add to the list.
add to the list. She's wonderful. But she goes, hey, I was consulting at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't go right back to Brooks when I
Right.
left. And I was consulting in real estate development. And I had some clients, and when I had a client in Wenatchee and a client in Spokane and one in K Falls. And anyway, she goes, well, could you step in? Could you do this on an interim basis? And I go, well,
While you're doing your
I
other
go,
stuff.
maybe like 0.75 FTE.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. And she goes, that'd be great. We're gonna hire. So 2-3 months go by. I'm like, how's the search going for the new CFO? She's in her classic way, just sort of smiles and goes, we were hoping you would just stay. And so I was like,
We haven't really been looking.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'll do it because I was managing the other stuff pretty well. But I said to her, I go, there's a good chance at some point that Brooks Resources is going to call me up and go, hey, come back
Yeah.
to work. And she goes, okay, well, we'll just cross that bridge when we get there. Well, April or whatever, February of 2016, they called and said, hey, Mike
Yeah.
called and called and said, hey,
Yeah.
I said, great, I'll do it. I've laid the groundwork. But in fact, after this discussion, I'm actually headed to a meeting for Mosaic. I'm on their campaign committee for the Connors campus that
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
trying to raise money for.
Yeah.
It's
They're
just-
they're thriving.
they're such a
they're
great
doing great. I
organization.
said they got a ton of money from the legislature, and rightly so.
Yeah, no, what they do in our community. Most people just think they go to. This is a plug for Mosaic, but
Yeah.
it's a clinic. It's a medical clinic, right?
Yeah.
And that's way more.
Yeah.
I mean, who they're serving, what they're doing for our community, for people who need care. If you have a belief that everybody deserves health care,
Yeah.
Mosaic's your
Yeah.
answer, right? That's a system that works.
Let me flip you back to real estate because now, I mean, I know you go back to Brooks and
I just my 10-year reunion
oh,
after the first 17 years.
that's good. You get double reunion.
I get
Two
double
of
reunion.
them,
Well,
right?
I had a gave me a good big going away party when I left at 17 years, and when I came back, I told Mike, I go, I'll do it on one condition. He's like, oh, what is that? I go, I know when I leave next time, no party.
We already did it.
Yeah, we did that. We can just think all back about it.
when you look at the projects that Brooks has right now, what are the things you're most excited about? I mean, what gets
Well,
you?
what's interesting is that Brooks Resources was formed in 1968 at a time, and they did projects that literally led to our current land use system. Others did too, but
Sure.
they were doing Tollgate.
Yeah.
Outside of Sisters was a Brooks Resources
Okay.
project. Obviously, Black Butte was a Brooks Resources project.
Right.
Some of the subdivisions south of La Pine, they're off in the woods. Those were and so they were doing that, and um, then, but they're also they had started Mount Besser Village in the '70s, the resorts,
Right.
and then Aubrey Butte started in the early '80s. So, but the reason that in the city of Bend, Brooks Resources bought 1,700 acres from Deschutes Sand and Gravel, Bob Coates, and basically it was all of Aubrey Glen, Aubrey Butte, the back nine of River's Edge, and everything down below Mount Washington, North Rim, Aubrey Park, and all those subdivisions. So they bought 1,700 acres there, and then we bought 480 acres for Northwest Crossing. Um, and we were doing what we knew how to do, which was large scale
Yeah.
master plan communities, right?
Right.
And managing them through the whole process. Well, those opportunities don't necessarily exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's if they do exist, like for instance, the 245 acres out in the southeast, not where the library is built, but the other side of the gas pipeline out
Okay.
there,
Yeah.
that came
I
out
know
of
what you're talking
UHB.
about. Yep.
Yep. And so I think Hayden Homes bought it. We actually tried to buy it, but we didn't get to the table. We'd try and do it with a partner, but that those even that property was so heavily prescribed
Right.
by comp plan designations that we knew it didn't fit our model,
Yeah.
and so we had to have a partner. We had to have a home builder partner.
Yeah.
But that was the best opportunity.
And
This
that's what it seems like. It
right.
seems like those types of Northwest Crossing type developments are,
Y-
if they're not even few and far between. They're not.
The reason Northwest Crossing is the way it is because of the scale
Yeah.
that we were able to
Right.
work in. When you can work in a scale like that, you can build Sun Rivers and Black Buttes and Eagle Crests and Northwest Crossings or Aubrey Buttes, and you can really do
Yeah.
bigger things because you can subsidize some of the nice things or look at things differently. We did Aubrey Glen. We built a golf course. We never made a nickel on the golf course.
Mm.
It was an amenity. We
Right.
bought into that. It was going to
Yeah.
drive real estate
Right.
sales and all that. That's fine. So we got to Northwest Crossing and we're like, well, we're not building a golf course. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to build a downtown core.
Yeah.
And we built the first 5 buildings. And I don't think they didn't generate returns that would be considered market returns until 6, 7, 8 years until Sparrow got there, honestly. When
Right.
Sparrow moved in, the wine bar did.
Then we became a tourist destination.
Portello was doing fine, and then we became a tourist destination,
Right.
right? No doubt. So yeah, I mean, this just became a critical mass, and
Yeah.
but yeah, we looked at that as our amenity.
Yeah.
So if you think about it that way, then that's how that happened.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it wouldn't have happened like that. And then things just kind of grew from there. We sold land
Yeah.
over by the high school, and people were building buildings, and but yeah, those opportunities don't exist anymore
Yeah.
in Bend.
Right.
And it's a natural progression of our land use laws in our state, which we don't really have a beef with the concept. We wish that there was more local control. On all honesty, we wish a city council could make certain decisions to do what they need to do for their city.
Yeah.
Um, and that hopefully would be more timely and responsive to the need. But we believe in it because
Right.
I grew up in Las Vegas. If you didn't want to live there, you just drove out in the desert and bought 100 acres, and somebody
That's
built a
right.
subdivision, and
Right.
it's like, yeah, I could drive out. Yeah, it's just crazy how that place grew, like a Phoenix or something like that.
So what does it look like for you guys?
So
Yeah.
so what we did 3 years ago is we formed a joint venture with the Taylor Development Group, which is Todd Taylor, the old Taylor Northwest, Hap Taylor and Sons before
Mhm.
that, and their family now, because Todd had sold Taylor Northwest, and they had been building some buildings, and we built some buildings with them. The Shevlin Health and Wellness on Shevlin Park, all those little medical
Yeah.
offices. That was our first group effort with
Yeah.
them. And that was right when I was leaving, when I left and went to the hospital.
Yeah.
Um, but that wasn't a big strategy at the time. That was just sort of opportunistic. And then over by Hydro Flask, across the street from Hydro Flask, we built those. And then we were sitting around going like, we had this discussion about availability, and we said, our world's changing. We're not going to find 250 acres or 400 acres in a UGB that we can do urban development in that isn't heavily prescribed. And just so you understand, the piece on the piece in the southeast was about 245 acres. The project we're doing right now, Discovery West, is 245 acres. We'll have 850 residential units out there when we're done.
Right.
The piece in the southeast, the city's comp plan calls for no less than 2,600
Oh, wow.
residential units.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not us.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's hard to be creative when you are so prescribed.
Right. Right.
So we're building buildings.
Yeah.
So we formed Taylor Brooks,
Right.
and we're investing our share. We're a C corporation with shareholders,
Mhm.
mostly all family members, Brooks family members,
Okay.
from Minneapolis, all
Yeah.
over
The
place
old, the
now.
old logging,
Yeah, the
old
whole,
logging science.
we were a subsidiary of
Yeah.
the mill, the Brooks
Sure.
Scanlon
I
mill.
remember.
And so yeah, we're building buildings. We just finished 2 warehouses for Saran Biomedical up in Juniper Ridge.
Okay.
We're building 115,000 square feet of industrial and flex space right across from Les Schwab right now.
Yeah.
If you haven't been up there, go look, because you'll be,
Yeah.
just don't drive off the road, because you'll be like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're building income properties, long-term income properties. We try to take the same philosophy. We build quality buildings that last and that they're durable, they're built well, and we manage our own properties. We formed Taylor Brooks, formed its own
Yeah.
property. We only manage our stuff.
Yeah.
That way we have a close relationship with our tenant, and it's not this arm's length transaction. Don't ever call the landlord. It's like, no,
Right.
if you aren't happy with our property management, call one of us.
Yeah.
And we'll figure it out and get it
Yeah.
straightened away. And so we just believe in that approach.
What does it mean? What do you worry about? I mean, you've got these buildings going, but just for Bend, you've been so instrumental in designing and, like you said, integrating land use. It even goes to Oregon at this juncture, and they're about to go into the planning for the next UGB expansion.
Yeah.
What are things that concern you?
I think I'll always say that I think Bend has a decent development code. It has the right focus on what we like to refer to, and they refer to as complete neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That's the right mentality, because there's no way we can all just, our opinion, you can't just have all your services in the downtown, because the town's going to grow.
Right.
You've got to have areas, and Northwest Crossing is a good example. You can't do everything you need there. You do need to go to other places to get things.
Yeah.
But theoretically, you can do a lot of things in your neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And so, but that's the idea behind complete neighborhoods, and the city's code embraces that. So what worries me is the execution of that, right?
Yeah.
And so that can the city hold landowners and developers to that concept, and will they invest? And
Right.
there's recent stories, right, where Polish got news press about selling some of their commercial land, and then that commercial land, the state passed legislation that said, on any commercial lands, it's okay to do affordable multifamily housing. And it leapt over all the zoning that cities had done. And so
now you're just putting more homes in there without the amenities, right? So they're driving. At this point, they're heading to Costco.
Yeah, going somewhere, or to a one Safeway.
Right. Yeah.
And so Petrosa is the good example where, it's a good sign. I think it's like 8 acres, and they sold like 3 or 3.5. They didn't sell it. The people they sold the 8 acres to sold this to, and the same thing happened at Easton down by Caldera.
Okay.
And so they sold some of the commercial. So sort of chips away at this idea, right?
Does the city have any leverage and
That's the big discussion right now. Yeah.
like the city can't push back against Oregon?
No, state law says you can
Right.
build affordable multifamily housing on commercial zone.
Right.
No questions.
Right.
And
Right.
none. You just do it.
In the push to get more affordable housing, in the push to drive down.
Which is great. I mean, we need affordable
Right.
housing. Planning is a strong tool, though. We did the UGB expansion in 2016, and they adopted a new comprehensive plan
Right.
that totally changed the direction of housing in Bend. We were building at 78, almost 80% single family detached, and maybe 20 or 18% multifamily and a little bit of townhomes and stuff like that. Well, when they adopted that comprehensive plan, and I don't remember the numbers exactly, but they flipped that not on its head, but they went
Yeah.
from high 70s to like, we're going to do 50% single family detached.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 55, I think. I don't know. And we're going to do 35%.
Yeah.
Well, look at what we have. You
Yeah.
know, we've seen multifamily be built.
Yeah.
That's good. The
Yeah.
planning worked.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
so we're
Even if people don't know it's happening. I mean,
even
that's
if
the other
people
part is like people are still thinking they're going to get those single family dwellings, even though, as Ben bunches up in the
Right.
UGB,
Right.
multifamily is where it's going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a lot more of it. It'll be, and there's all the good, there's, pros and cons.
Yeah.
All the good reasons to do that is it's super efficient on all your services and utilities because, you're not extending lines out into the wilderness
Yeah.
to get sewer and water there. Um, and you can do emergency services. They're easier to access.
Yeah.
They're
Sure.
new buildings. But the negative would be is like the people who are there's always a gradient, right? There's somebody buying the $3 million home
Yeah.
and they're moving out of a $2 million home, and that guy's moving out of a $1 million home, and that guy that's buying the one,
Yeah.
so there's a real gradient of how housing works.
Yeah.
And so what's going to happen is they're all going to become, expensive homes. And so
Right.
now
Yeah.
where's the transition?
Right.
How do people get into single family? Like it or not, and this is sort of for the state of Oregon, like it or not, people actually like single family homes.
Yeah.
I like a little yard and
Right.
it's,
Sure. Little space.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's naive to think that all of our apartment folks are just going to settle with that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to live here 30 years and just live in an apartment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just not
Yeah.
reality. So is the mix right?
Yeah.
It's working. We have multifamily that helps. Rents are actually stabilizing or coming
Yeah.
down in places.
Yeah.
They're not, when you're doing renewals in these apartments right now, they're not getting bumps.
Right.
So that's a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah. Kirk, we're at the end of our time.
Not ready.
Yeah,
That's
I know, it
good.
went
So,
fast.
yeah.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have had all that coffee.
I thought the same thing. I was like, I need to settle down. Anything that you want to speak to that we haven't spoken to for readers, listeners, watchers, wherever the people are?
We say, even in the recession, we had a saying at Brooks. We were, because it was, I left, as says why, right? But we had a saying, which was, nothing's changed in Bend other than the price of real estate. And it went down in
Right.
this scenario. So, I mean, I still will contend. And when I first met you, we were living happy, fat and happy up on the hill over there.
Right.
And it was a quiet little town. I could walk
Yeah.
downtown and see people I
Right.
knew. And, maybe I don't run into as many people as I know, but it's still Bend.
Yeah.
And we get a little short-sighted when we live in it and it's busier on the streets or the
Yeah.
stores or crowded restaurants.
If I don't make a light, I get pretty angry. I'm like, what is happening to this town?
This is the end. This is
Right. This is the end.
Armageddon.
Right.
But it's still a pretty great place to live.
Right.
As a real estate developer, I've been told, oh, you guys are ruining Bend. Well,
Yeah.
I heard that in a long time.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. I think the world is, but for a while there, back in the day,
Sure.
and I always thought, not for the guy who just bought his house.
Right.
The
Right.
guy who just bought his house that moved here from Timbuktu is like, this is the best place in the world.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to reconcile, like, this guy thinks I'm ruining the place. This guy thinks it's the best place he's ever lived. Somewhere in there,
Right.
there's like, it's a great place to
Yeah.
live. So
Yeah, I have this obviously have this conversation all the time with people who've been here for as long as we have, and I refuse to become a curmudgeon. I'm not shaking my cane yet, and I each year I'm like, okay, I still like the town. I'm still
right.
positive.
I suppose, that,
Yeah.
it's going to affect different people in different
Yeah,
ways,
for sure.
I lived in San Jose. I lived in Portland. I grew up in Las Vegas. So to me, this is a tiny little town.
Yeah.
Only in size, but I think we're benefited by, the abundance of great restaurants. We're benefited by really an excellent park system with
For sure.
parks that are available. We're benefited by access to open space, and
Yeah.
you drive an hour east and you could get out of your car and run naked through the sagebrush. And
It's running.
anyone's gonna say anything, So it's there's all these things that are here for us. There's a river that runs through our town
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I guess my point is like, and what was it? A smile, you're in Bend or something. What was it? Your
Right.
bumper sticker?
Yeah,
It was-
right. Right.
Yeah, be nice.
Be nice and break your television. I miss those too. I miss.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, Kirk, thanks for taking the time. I
Absolutely.
really
My
appreciate it.
pleasure.
Yeah. This has been the Bend Don't Break podcast. If you like what you heard, go to bendsource.com, become a member, support the paper and all of our digital offerings. And we will continue to have great people like Kirk come on the show and
And
rap
thank
with
you
us.
to the source. It's
Oh.
a wonderful, wonderful addition to our community, right?
Yeah.
One more to go on the
I
number
appreciate
list.
it. Yeah. Thanks, Kirk.
Okay.
You've been listening to the Bend Don't Break podcast powered by The Source Weekly. To read, hear, and see more of what we do, go to bendsource.com.